Las Vegas, this is NAB Show Live, produced by Broadcast Beat.
Ryan Salazar here at the New Tech booth in the South Lower Hall with the one, the only, Will Waters, Director of Product Marketing at New Tech. How you doing?
I'm doing real well. Really excited. It's going to be a fantastic show. We have a lot of great things to talk about and some things to show for the first time, out to the general public.
So New Tech, you guys are literally like pioneers for the integration or for IP happening in the broadcast industry.
Yeah, well, our products are really built around in our inception, the company from the very beginnings, we really try to look in the future and really see that, doing things on standardized general computing components is really where the future is for video. It's really it has impact for so many industries, but definitely for video. So that's part of our culture. It's part of our creative mindset and the way that we think about technology and everything. So bringing that all together is really having the IP really delivers on so many different things, and this is a really good thing because for many different people, there's more content demanded from consumers all the time. So you need to be able to keep up with that demand. You need to have more sources. I mean, I know any producer says, well, I couldn't use another source, another angle, another helpful way to tell that story, and IP really delivers on that. And this is really what New Tech has been doing as we bring products to market, as well as have technology available for the industry.
All right, so at the NAB Show Live booth right now, the studio that we're broadcasting live to from South Lower, which is so exciting, over LiveView technology, we have the IP series system. Would you mind talking about that setup a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, the IP series is it's a production switcher, but it's a full IP processing. So there is no, traditional, baseband video processing in. Now, of course, we can work with equipment. I mean, this is video, so you work with all the equipment that is necessary. But harnessing the power of the network, the IP series delivers with each chassis up to 44 inputs. But it's really limitless production because you can expand this as necessary. As long as you have bandwidth and processing power, really you can scale those productions as much as possible, and that's what you guys are able to do right here within the show floor.
Okay, so let's talk about the TriCaster TC1. It's quite exciting. We had a pretty exclusive announcement with you guys. So we released a video about 2 weeks ago. Let's chat about that.
Well, we're really excited about this. So TriCaster's been a very popular product in the industry, and of course has been able to bring in that streaming element. So have that production done, deliver out to the streaming viewers. Well, we have a new product in that line called the TriCaster TC1. Now, this has 16 inputs that you can bring in on the network or through different interfaces, through NDI, of course. And not only did we want to bring in that many inputs, but we also wanted to break down some barriers. It supports 4K, so UHD production up to 60 frames per second, all 16 inputs. We're showing it right here on the show floor. It's interconnected with all these different systems. Of course, has everything that you're used to with TriCaster with media playback and some automation, macros, graphics overlays, 2 streaming encoders so you can deliver out again to all of those particular viewers' places. And of course, with the New Tech Developer Network, some fantastic interoperability with so many different vendors and manufacturers.
Okay, so I want to talk about 3Play because it's quite exciting. I'm very new to it. We are also using it in the control room, and we're actually recording our segments like we're doing right now live at the same time.
So 3Play is a product that we brought a few years ago, and it's really thought of in the sports market originally. Now, we have a lot of use cases for it, but it allows for multiple channels to be brought in. Now, this does use SDI on the inputs for that, but you can simultaneously record those, keep everything in sync, and then, of course, play those back, be able to add in transitional layers, have playlists, be able to put bookmarks in, metadata tagging. It's really a fantastic and for a great price point for replay pretty much at every level. We have a few different models in that line depending on what your needs are.
Okay, so lastly, before we wrap up, your Skype devices are quite amazing. The talk show, we're using the quad right now. If you could talk about that.
So yes, it'd be the talk show VS4000. Now, New Tech and Microsoft have a great relationship. A few years ago, we brought the talk show product together, which allows you to really harness the power of the vast capability of Skype with the 300 million monthly connected viewers. And the thing about Skype is it's great because it's ubiquitous. It's on every device, the mobile phones, the gaming systems, all this different stuff. But to be able to bring that in, but give you a great connection to your professional production.
That's great. All right, from the New Tech booth in South Lower, the Will Waters, thank you so much, and I wish you guys the best at this show.
Thank you so much. We'll look forward. We'll be here. It's going to be a great show.
All right, back to the studio.
Las Vegas, this is NAB Show Live, produced by Broadcast B.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are we all on day one of the exhibition? Good? Hello there, and I'm Janet West, and I'm delighted to invite you to the NAB Show Live from Las Vegas at the Convention Center. Today I've got three very interesting guests, and we're going to be talking about a subject that we don't usually talk about. When we talk cameras, it's usually the broadcast cameras. Well, I've been fascinated by the new small cameras. We stick them on drones, we put them on animals, put them in very unusual places, perhaps flying on the back of an eagle. So I've invited these guests to help me understand what some of the issues are regarding connectivity, lenses, battery life, etc. Let me introduce my guests. Firstly, here to my right, I've got JP Delport, who is Vice President of Broadcast from Domo. And next to him is John Payne, who's President of IMT, which is Integrated Microwave Technologies.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Corey Rich, who's with Vitec. Welcome, gentlemen. So, what are the issues? What sort of cameras are we talking when we're talking small cameras?
So, small cameras can be placed on anything. Really, moving towards live broadcasts is where we've been focusing on live small cameras, embedding them on athletes. A few years ago, there's cameras being placed on athletes were very large and cumbersome, and kind of a fad because the athletes would interfere with the athletes' performance.
Performance, exactly.
And so, as the cameras have gotten smaller, the athletes are more willing to wear them, and brings much more perspective from the event, and engages the audience when you're seeing what the athlete's seeing, or from their perspective, or even on the fields itself. So bringing that live is becoming more a standard practice within broadcast.
Okay, JP, what sort of cameras have you been putting on?
We work with a range of different cameras, from the Sony action camera to GoPro. We work on cameras on an OEM level to bring the size down, so we actually have to repackage cameras a lot of the time to bring the size and weight down to fit the application.
Right.
So, as technology moves on, the cameras get smaller, the lenses get smaller, the optics get better, and it really lends itself a lot better for a point of view camera position for live applications.
Okay.
Yes, I think what's also interesting is it's not just that the cameras are getting smaller. We're also seeing that as the form factor is getting more compact, the user interface is also getting simpler. So they're not antiquated, tiny technologies that require computer interfaces. We're seeing a lot of these cameras that we're describing with one button press technology, really simple to use menus. And it's going beyond, at this point, just traditional video where you point the camera and it sees that rectangle. But we're seeing small virtual reality cameras that are really changing the way that we think about, the virtual reality started with clusters of 24 cameras or 6 cameras and complicated stitching software. And now we're seeing in these same tiny camera systems, small one-button press virtual reality cameras that are also allowing streaming, which is, we're living in a very exciting world when it comes to small cameras, and if we can dream it, we can make it happen these days in terms of getting cameras in otherwise impossible locations.
Can I perhaps ask all of you to give me some examples of really interesting productions where you've used the small cameras, starting with you, JP?
Well, I think you mentioned something earlier. We actually are very privileged to be part of a production in the Emirates in Dubai for BBC. They wanted to get a point of view camera on the back of an eagle, and it was called Flight of the Eagle. So in that application, we actually did use a Sony action camera. We repackaged the camera with our wireless technology, and we transmit the HD feed down to ground base, and we had 45 minutes of uninterrupted flight from an eagle's perspective, going all around Dubai. It was an amazing production to be involved with, really good.
Did the eagle object to having it on the back, or what was the weight of it?
It was really light, so we're talking in
we're
grams.
Talking grams, okay.
In grams, yeah. So it was a little harness backpack that the bird wore. They're obviously trained birds, so you can't just strap it to any bird, I don't think. But no problems at all. It was first flight and it was an absolute success. So off the top of the Burj Khalifa as well.
And I think the famous Oxford and Cambridge boat race uses the small cameras because they can obviously go under the bridge and you don't have a
I don't know if any of you guys ever watched the Oxford-Cambridge boat race in the UK. It was a real boring event to watch. It was really just two boats being rowed down the Thames, and all you had was probably two helicopter feeds watching these boats go down. Well, now we've actually put point of view cameras inside of the boats, so you're actually watching the rowers go for it. You're listening to the coxswains call their orders to the rowers, and you actually, as a viewer, feel part of the race. And everybody likes live video, right? If it's not live, you don't, especially in sport, it's gone, it's old news. So to bring these point of view cameras live with wireless technology, with IP technology, is really where the industry is going forward. And we've seen a huge uplift in stuff like ref cams. We've seen UFC, Bruce Buffer, the umpire in UFC, wear a live camera for UFC. So it's really exciting to be part of that now.
John, tell me about some of the projects you've been involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. One in particular actually brought an example of an integration that one of our partners had done, and this was a ref cam. Previous versions have had big, large cameras stuck on the outsides of the helmets, as I mentioned at the top. And what we've done is really integrated both the cameras and the transmission equipment into the helmet to enable the participants not to even know that the cameras are on their helmet. This has a Marshall camera that we've broken down and done a full integration within our transmission equipment. Predecessors versions of this would only run for 45 minutes, less than an hour. It's very complicated to get out and change batteries on the referee's helmet. So we launched into a full integration project, and we're able to get the size of the transmitters, equipment, and the cameras down to a point where you could run these for 4 hours.
That's brilliant.
And not interrupt the flow of the game. The referee is the best cameraman on the ice because he's always looking at the action. And so it really engages the audience further. And so we've been able to, like I said, develop a very small format transmitter. It's in the 20-ounce range and runs for, like I said, on a small little battery for 4 hours. And
so with these, did we ever have conflicts with the referees that the camera never lies and the referee has to change his decision?
We haven't got to that point yet, but if you watch the Stanley Cup, you'll see some shots right from the ice, and it really engages the audience because now you start to see the referee's hand come up when there's a goal, and you see the whistle, and it really engages the audience in replay. So you can go back to replays and see exactly how the puck is going into the net, and it'll probably work its way into replay at some point. So.
But I think you hit the nail on the head there. I don't think referees like to be second guessed with the camera. It is a sales pitch to the referees as well, and what it's doing for the sport and how it's growing the sport. But more than that, it also becomes you have to think about things like health and safety and how will what will happen on a fall and how will everything break away. So a lot of thoughts goes into these integration jobs by IMT, by DTC. We're proud to say that we've integrated these on a lot of ref cams in RFU rugby. You guys have obviously done the NHL or Ice Hockey League. So it's becoming more adopted now.
Yeah, Corey, what sort of projects are interesting?
As a director, I like to think about the world that we're living in is that the toolbox, the tools that we have to work with across the board have just gotten much smaller and much simpler to use, whether that's small cameras, whether it's LED lights, whether it's microphones. And so I find I'm now a guy that we're working on a project with the Olympic Channel through Jaunt in virtual reality. And we were in Nigeria 2 weeks ago in this chaotic market in Nigeria. Women are walking around with, carrots and fruit on their heads on trays. And our DP had this kind of aha moment, and he said, let's grab one of the small virtual reality cameras, the Nikon Key Mission, and just strap it onto the carrots on her head as she walked through this market. And I love the kind of the analogy of you have this toolbox that you carry around now in the field. 10 years ago, that toolbox was you had one big heavy camera and you put it on your shoulder and you started shooting. Today we have this toolbox, which is we can throw a camera on top of carrots in a Nigerian market and allow a woman to walk through, and you get a point of view in virtual reality that the world has never experienced. And then 10 minutes later, you see a scene and you realize this is for the jaunt, and you put the 24 lens camera in the center of the market. And as I look at this technology and we talk about mounting cameras to eagles, it's what it empowers is the small footprint production or the large network to go out and be nimble and show the world visuals that we've never seen before, and that's exciting.
You brought up one point that I'm interested to learn about, and that is lighting. What are the issues for lighting? Because obviously it's not a stage situation.
You know, to me, it comes back, it's this similar analogy to small cameras. We have these tools, you know, you rewind tape to 10 years ago, you had these hot lights that enormous amounts of power for short bursts of light. Today we have LED lights and different form factors that we can power with Anton Bowers. We're oftentimes powering our camera and our light simultaneously, and it's super high quality light that's portable. And so in that same toolkit, not only do you have the small cameras, you have these LED fixtures that you can, depending on the situation. You know, I was just talking to a DP in the hallway this morning, and he was asking, when you guys travel, what is in your kit? And I was outlining, you know, kind of the variety of small cameras, the larger cameras, and kind of a quiver of the Astras. I mean, it's really, we're living in this moment in time where we can be more mobile, we can move faster and be more creative, and that's because the devices, both the lights and the cameras, are just getting smaller.
Okay. Any comments on using the small cameras in drones?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
The drone is a wireless camera,
Yeah.
platform, and we all know drones can fly, and bringing that into live sport is happening more and more with the adoption of the 107 regulations. Now make it legal to fly drones, over, not necessarily over people, but in that environment.
So in a sports stadium,
in sports
or something
stadiums
like
and
that,
things
yeah.
like that. So last year, some live productions at motocross and at the golf events really brings a whole nother perspective to the sport.
Mm-hmm. What are the limitations of these small cameras? I mean, are they going to get smaller, or are we sort of at the limit at the moment?
Well, I guess it all goes down to the market expectations. We're on the HD platform with these mini cameras, and there's some limitations even with HD. I mean, one of the biggest limiting factor I think in this technology, cameras are getting smaller, wireless transmitters are getting smaller, but batteries now are. Is to find a battery small enough to do a great integration job. That's one of the big problems.
I think batteries, whether you're dealing with photovoltaic on your roof, we can't get batteries small enough at the moment.
Right,
yeah,
absolutely.
The whole industry.
And then it's, the expectation to go to 4K presents a whole world of issues. Again, compression for wireless transmitters, bringing down the form factor of a HVC encoder. And then lenses for the cameras as well, going into that sort of format. But right now, we're already being asked for 4K POV cameras.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that to me the big question mark is the cameras have gotten incredibly small. Now it's how do we get that lensing? We want magnification. We figured out how to have a wide-angle perspective on small cameras, but now how do you get a tiny camera with a 600 millimeter lens perspective, or even a 85 millimeter lens perspective in a tiny form factor? And my guess is 5 years from now we'll sit on this stage and that camera will exist, because we're seeing it happen on our smartphones, and when that technology moves into our kind of world of filmmaking and storytelling, it'll be kind of the next frontier in my mind.
Can we zoom on some of these small cameras, or are they fixed lenses?
I haven't been involved with anything that zooms on a sport application, but certainly when we're streaming in IP, we can have a sort of bi-directional link. Yes, we have had a pan, tilt, and zoom on a mini camera. I don't know if you've seen the same in your applications.
Yeah, limited, yeah.
But presumably it's very difficult to get really tiny in that case.
Yeah, there's more moving parts. It gets a little bit bigger. It's still
Heavier.
considered a small POV camera, but not as small as one would see on the side of a helmet, for instance.
All right, okay. What about audio?
Yeah. Audio, when you're talking about cameras, you always do forget that a production involves both video
Yeah, we do
and
have
audio.
sound.
In this case. That's right. And so, audio microphone technology is so small these days. Digital microphones, and you can get them down to the size of a grain of sand. And so, the audio is important because it brings to life the video.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just in the Vitech booth admiring one of the players' microphone systems, where they're inside of a jersey, they're slipping the tiny transmitters with tiny microphones, and that's in the world where I work. We're so often dealing with high-end, world-class athletes, and it's such a hard ask to put a traditional lav mic with transmitter because it's not convenient for an athlete, whether they're a snowboarder flipping through the air or an NBA player, dunking. And as that technology also gets smaller, it becomes a more immersive experience when you get both the visual and you get that incredible rich sound. And integrated devices are really exciting when it's that much less to connect to the individual. When the camera sound is comparable and you're transmitting one signal is an exciting idea and future for us.
John, when you are coming up with an idea to help a client, what's your sort of design approach for dealing with tiny cameras?
Right. Power is always critical because, as JP mentioned, battery size, battery technology. If we can get the power down, ultimately the entire system can get lower in weight and size. So battery, we always focus around bringing that power level down because there's a squaring effect on the ultimate size of the product. So we usually start with an integration at looking at how much we can integrate and how we can bring that power level back, because it ultimately will improve the implementation.
So, Corey, what can we expect to see new at the show with respect to small cameras?
I think I'm really personally excited to see what's happening in the virtual reality world at the show in small cameras. What we've seen in years past is big, robust VR cameras, but the question is, very similar to the traditional camera path, how do they get smaller but maintain that quality bar? And that's certainly what I'll be roaming the halls looking for. Some big VR announcements in the last 5 days.
So really, to deal with small cameras, you've got to have a whole load of different suppliers to make the system work. Yeah. John, what are you excited about seeing?
IP streaming technologies, bringing the small cameras, integrating them within systems, and how it seamlessly integrates within the workflow.
Okay.
I must admit, I'm with Corey. I'm really interested to see what's happening with the virtual reality side. I think it's a really exciting new technology that's coming out, and me myself, who owns a virtual reality headset, I'm quite keen to see where it's going to go forward and how we can be part of that journey.
So what's going to be the next killer application for small cameras? We've talked about soccer, football games, we've talked about, on eagles and animals, and we've seen some fantastic natural history shows recently using cameras in all different places, in spy bots and robot animals, etc. What's the next killer application you can see?
I think it's really interesting to see what's happening in both the VR but also the AR, or the augmented reality world. And several years ago, Google had the Google Glass, where there was a camera integrated into the eyeglasses. And today, to see where that's going, Microsoft has a big project which is HoloLens, and that's pretty fascinating to see how that's going to affect our lives.
Guys, this has been fascinating. I would love to carry on talking to you, and I'll probably stop by and see you at the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been guys talking about tiny cameras. JP Delport from Domo, John Payne from IMT, and Corey from Vitech. We are now going to Ryan with Telestream. I'm Janet West, and I'll see you next with Focusing on Lenses.
Scott Murray. How you doing?
Hi, Ryan. It's good to see you again. How are things?
Going great. So Scott and I go way back. We've had a lot of chats about technology that Telestream provides. Scott, what does NAB show mean to you guys?
Oh my gosh, NAB is a culmination of a lot of hard work. This is the coming out party for all kinds of new technologies and new workflow pieces of software, new hardware. It really is the coming out party for everything that you have to show. We save up for this great event and we introduce things, and it's so exciting to see customers come to the booth and they go, wow, I can't believe you guys have done that. That's just so exciting to see.
So you guys became very popular with Flip Factory, of course, right. And now you have Vantage. Vantage is such an amazing system.
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
Yeah, Vantage is, people don't realize how big that ecosystem is of Vantage. So people think of Flip Factory, which is transcoding. So we made our name in transcoding, which is great. But what about QC? How about checking of those files?
Right.
Whoa, how about high dynamic range in 4K? Or how about social media connectors? Or how about analysis of the content itself? If you actually look at what Vantage does, the ecosystem is so huge, the workflow automation, that people don't realize how fantastic it is that this product is. We actually had some customer tell us, whatever I throw at Vantage, Vantage just does that. And so we actually adopted that as our tagline. Vantage does that, because so many people have told us that I can throw just about anything at Vantage and it does what I need it to do.
Yeah, I was a user at Vantage for a while over the last couple years, and what a cool product, because it's this rules-based system. If this happens, do that. But if that happens, do that, and make it this size file. It's just amazing. So, okay, let's talk about Wirecast, because that's such an amazing product as well. And with the streaming evolution, things are changing in this world.
Oh my gosh. Streaming ecosystem is exploding. I read some statistics yesterday that said there are 3 billion people that have either a 3G or 4G connection in the world, and all of them want to be able to utilize that bandwidth to be able to stream video. I think 35% of all internet traffic is video now, either live or on-demand streaming. I mean, it is exploding. We get customers, major companies like CNN and ESPN use Wirecast. We have sports teams like the New York Yankees and the New Jersey Nets and the Golden State Warriors that are streaming using Wirecast. We have churches that are streaming using Wirecast. There's education facilities, corporations. I mean, the list goes on and on and on with the people that are using Wirecast to stream, because it's really all about getting their message out to a new world. The ecosystem of television is changing. Video will never go away. And people are still consuming content, but the thing is how do they consume it? So we know the millennials, the cord cutting, we've all heard about that. Well, we're getting our information from streaming media. And so Wirecast fits right into that whole ecosystem for the streaming world.
Okay, so lastly, captioning. Let's talk about captioning. You guys are in that world now.
Yes. Captioning is really huge, especially mandated by a lot of the government agencies, but not only because it's mandated, because I actually have a burden for people that are hearing impaired. And if you ever plug your ears and try to watch a television show or turn off the sound, you realize that you cannot understand or get immersed in the program. So the captioning and subtitling is really important for our hearing impaired customers. Now, one thing that's kind of the holy grail that we're showing as a technology demo here is a speech to text.
Oh, wow.
And so the captioning has always been somebody has to sit there and listen to the show and do the typing. Well, we have a technology using IBM Watson that is actually doing the speech to text translation, so people can automatically insert their captions into the programming. That's automation for you.
Well, that's really cool. So what is your audience? Like, I've worked in post for many years. I think that's probably, although broadcast is a big audience for you as well, too.
Yeah, broadcast is obviously huge. It's our anchor.
Okay.
But, with the streaming ecosystem, it's not just broadcasters. It ends up being the churches and the corporations that want to get into that system as well.
Oh, that's excellent. All right. From the Telestream booth in South Florida, this place is packed. It's going to be an amazing NAB show. The one, the only, Scott Murray. Thank you so much, man. We'll hang out.
All right, Ryan. Take care, buddy.
Have a good one.
Live from Las Vegas, this is NAB Show Live.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Janet West, and I'm delighted to invite you to NAB Show Live here at the Las Vegas Convention Center. This morning we're going to be talking about focusing on lenses, something that we don't often do. We talk about the cameras, but we don't often talk about the lenses. I'm absolutely delighted to have two very interesting guests. Firstly, to my right, Les Zellen, who is chairman and owner of Cook Optics. And next to him, Christophe Casanove, is that how we... Casanave. Senior product manager from Zeiss. So, gentlemen, welcome. What's going to be new at the show?
Well, we have a lot of new product here at NAB this year. We've developed what we call S7, which is our next series of lenses, which is for the newer cameras that are getting larger chips, full format, full frame, and beyond. VistaVision is coming back. So we've developed a whole new set of lenses for that. We've developed another set of lenses, which we call the Pan-Chro Classics. As digital has gotten higher and higher resolution, I think all the lens manufacturers have noticed people are pining for older lenses. The thing about digital is that it makes a pretty sterile, it can make a very sterile, and I hate to say it because I know you talk to camera guys, but it can make a very sterile and boring image. So people are looking for ways to put personality and life back into that. So
more like the film look, you mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cook has been making lenses for 130 years for films.
Yeah.
And so we took some old designs and we recreated them, and they're called the Pan-Chro Classics. And then we continue to expand our anamorphic range, which digital has seen a big resurgence in. And again, anamorphic adds character and personality and artifacts into what otherwise could be a pretty sterile looking image, and helps cinematographers and videographers just tell the story. Okay. And I know my colleagues at Zeiss have been equally busy.
Yes.
What are we going to see on the Zeiss stand?
So first of all, I wanted to add something on what Les was mentioning, that, you know, there are more and more lenses brought on the market, and there is one reason is because now that we have digital cinema, there is sensors, there is no film anymore. So in the past, people were used to change the kind of film they use to give a look, and nowadays there is only one solution anymore, the lens.
Right.
So the lens is more, and that's very good in that sense that you organize a panel talking about lens, and you should expand this in the next years, because
that's where the development's
lens
going to be.
is now the way to give a look and to create some artistic look. So this year we bring a new line of lens. We bring the CP3. CP stands for compact primes. These are prime lenses, 10 focal lengths. And these are the more or less improvements of a very successful line of lens from us, the CP2. And actually, 8 years ago with the CP2, we created a completely new market. It's the market of I would call it entry-level real cine lenses. Before the CP2, there was no real affordable offering for lenses for cinema. And CP2 have been the first one bringing really a cinema lens in an affordable price and a very compact body. So actually we sold more than 30,000 pieces, which is for the cine industry, just for this kind of lens, huge. And this year we bring now the, let's say, improvement, so the replacement of the CP2, which is the CP3. They are even more compact. We have improved the ergonomy, we have improved a bit also the optical look. And we have brought also something that no one would expect a cine lens in this price point to have. This is the electronic, and basically it's based on their technology. So we included, so Cook has a, let's say, open standard or a standard, and you made a press release a couple of days ago that more and more camera manufacturers are joining the standard, and we believe also in this one. So we implemented this /I into this compact lenses. And basically I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this will be more or less the most affordable /I lenses
Well, hopefully
slash I compatible.
Hopefully you'll have some competitors soon, but we welcome the Zeiss is picked up years ago. We developed a metadata system called /I.
Yeah.
We've made it available to the industry, and we're very gratified that this year, in addition to Zeiss, Sony, Canon, and a host of other manufacturers have adopted this as to standardize, because metadata is one of those things that everybody knows they want, but until there's some standardization, it becomes very difficult.
Yeah.
And I just want to pick up on what was said. One of the great things that digital did for us as lens manufacturers, and reiterating what was said, is it's very strange in a way. In the old days, being film, the camera did almost nothing. It just had to move the film and hold it steady. And the lens was really helped. It was the lens and the film stock that gave the look. In the digital era, it's completely different. The camera is actually an integral part of the production now, because it's like having the film laboratory on your shoulder.
Yeah.
But it's because of the price points and the technology, it's become a commodity. And now everybody is really focused on where they should have been focused all the time, and that's on the lenses. The lenses, each manufacturer, the Cooke lenses have what's called the Cooke look, and it's been very consistent for almost 100 years with our lenses.
Mm-hmm.
And Zeiss has a look, other manufacturers have a look. So it gives the videographer or cinematographer a choice on how to tell the story and picking the right tool for the story.
One of the things that's interested me is we've gone from 2K to 4K, we're talking 8K. I've often talked to people and said, aren't we getting to the point that we're actually creating a resolution greater than the eye can see? So is there a limitation for how far lenses are going to go?
I think you're asking the wrong question. I mean, the manufacturers, the camera manufacturers are going to go for 8K. They're going to go to a gazillion K. But a super high resolution picture, while the NSA might like that, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to storytelling. And hence, what we've seen, what we were talking about a few minutes ago, this pining away for these older lenses that are not necessarily perfect to add character, because at the end of the day, I think what the technology to some point is wagging the dog. And that is, at the end of the day, we're storytellers. Well, we aren't, but our customers are storytellers. And they have to pick and if you make a picture that nobody wants to watch, because it's just not right for the story, you're lost. So, it doesn't matter to me if it's a standard def picture or a high def picture. If it helps tell the story correctly, it's the right choice.
Okay.
So, to a certain extent, as I said, I think the tail has been wagging the dog lately.
Okay.
With the technology just out of control sometimes.
Right, yeah. Tell me, when you're designing lenses, whether it's Zeiss or Cooke, where are you focusing? Is it color rendition? Is it contrast? Is it how to get the best? Well, I think you've just told me it's how to get the best image in a dramatic sense, that look that people are looking for.
And I think I'll speak for Cooke, but I think it's true for Zeiss and all our competitors. We have a certain philosophy, which in our case is the Cooke look, and that really dictates our design decisions. Zeiss I'm sure has your own look that you strive for.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, we have also our own, let's say, DNA in what we render. So we don't talk about the Zeiss look, but people know when they get a Zeiss lens, they have something different than Cooke. So sometimes people criticize that our lenses are a bit too clinical, a bit too clean, but that belongs to our look, and we stick with this. So whenever we design a lens, we try to stick with this look.
And that's important, because if we all look the same, it wouldn't matter.
You might as well be the same company.
That's right.
Exactly, yes. Okay, the session that I heard earlier was on tiny cameras. How small can a lens get? A good lens?
Well, it can get pretty small. I mean, some of the lenses they put on phones these days are not terrible. So, it's a function of the technology and the sensor size and the coverage you need.
And the quality we want.
And the quality you're looking for. It's luckily for us, we still make big lenses, and there is sort of this divergence with things going small and things getting larger at the same time. So.
Yeah. Okay. In manufacturing lenses, are you using new materials now? Is there a change there, or is it still traditional materials?
Actually, well, we still use all glass,
right?
And in fact, the glass catalog of the optical glasses available to us have actually shrunk over the years, and so it is one of the issues that we have. Well, we all have. In the old days, there are only a number of optical glass manufacturers, and we all use the same material. So it comes down to the design, but that's a constricting resource or a constricting element in the design.
Christoph, are you using any new materials in design manufacturing?
Yes, or there are some new technologies. For example, a couple of years ago, now the molding of our spheres have been, let's say, getting more popular, and this is really a technology that helps really making lenses that are smaller. Because a sphere helps reducing the amount of glass you need in a lens. So this we use a lot. It has some drawback because, of course, you need to pay some tooling costs. So typically what you would do is you would try to get the return on investment on such technology normally is more on the consumer lenses. But now it starts getting democratized in the cine industry. And for us, the big breakthrough what we had the last year for Zeiss is the capability in simulation and computation. Okay. So we are a bit lucky because at Zeiss we are the smallest part of a big company that does a lot in simulation software. So we are now able to simulate almost everything, and even the coating of the lens we can simulate them exactly. So we can on the computer we can see already what will be the look of the lens that we will get, and this was something that really helped us make the right lens and save a lot of time in the development cycle of this kind of lenses.
Yeah.
And that's true industry-wide. I mean, the tools have just gotten, the design tools and the computerization have gotten so much better that I think we do the same, and I'm sure all our competitors do as well.
Now, Christoph, I see you holding gently a new toy on your lap. Do you want to tell us all about it? I believe this is a new launch.
Yeah, this is the lens I was just mentioning. This is this new CP3. So as you can see, it's a concept which is, for example, radically different from the S7, right? This is very compact, but it still covers this full frame, so the bigger sensor size. It's quite compact, or very compact. It's less than 1 kilo. I don't know how many it is in 2 pounds. Yes.
2.2.
2.2. Yes, it's less than 2.2 pounds. Yes, and we have them in 2 versions. So this is the version without the electronic, and people can buy them with the electronic that we introduced. And perhaps one thing about the electronic. So what we did together with developing this lens, we started also collaborating with one software company, and we started developing ourselves some software for the post-production to allow the people to use basically some data from the lens. And our vision with this is we want to make the technology that was only affordable for blockbuster and Hollywood and 100 million budget production to, let's say, the smaller companies, lower budget companies, because there was one thing fundamental in the whole cinema industry happening in the 5 last years is that the post-production software, the price of the software has dropped dramatically, which means now almost everyone can start playing, making visual effects, making some post-production on the film material he did, and that's why we believe strongly in this metadata, and we think we need to include more and more possibility into the metadata and also support the usage of this technology also in the post-production.
Okay. So who will be using that lens? What applications do you see it being used for?
Typically, people, so first of all, it's more the smaller production.
Yeah.
I would say up to TV show, it's an interesting lens, up to a TV show, filming TV shows. And a lot of people doing advertisement, corporate videos, but also there are sometimes films with very nice scenarios, but with low budget. On the other side of the Atlantic, it's really the case very often. And often what they do is they use a zoom because they don't have the money to use primes, but they would like to get the look of a prime lens.
Right.
And with this kind of lens, I tell them, why use a zoom? You can also afford a set of prime for you, let's say, decent budget film.
Okay. So where you mentioned zooms, where are we with zooms?
Well, for Cook, our zooms are limited actually to anamorphic. We do 2 front anamorphic zooms, of 35 to 140 and a 45 to 450, so a wide one and a long one. They're fairly hefty lenses. Is our front anamorphic. If you're into anamorphic, an important distinction is between front and rear anamorphic. If you do a rear anamorphic, you get the anamorphic coverage, but you don't truly get an anamorphic look. To get the true anamorphic look, you have to do the work in front of the iris, and that makes the lens big and heavy. But it's the only way to get the true anamorphic look. So that's where we've gone. Other than that, Cook only makes prime lenses.
Yeah.
So we have also some zooms. So but actually we have a set of 3 full frame zoom also for the cinema, going from 15 millimeter to 200 in 3 zooms. We have them already since 4 years on the market. It's more or less a complement of this lens series. And last year we launched a zoom that is very lightweight, so now 4 pounds, approximately 4 pounds, which is aimed at documentary and again some all-rounder production company. So the guys with 2 or 3 person working together and needing to minimize the equipment they carry. And it's very interesting zoom. So goes from 21 to 100. So basically you can shoot the whole day with only 1 zoom. You never need to change the lens. Perhaps you can complement if you need something ultra wide. You complement with such a very small prime, and then you're gone for a 1-day assignment. This is the kind of zoom we have at the moment.
Okay. Customers coming to you. I mean, Les, you talked about they want to look now. What other things are customers asking for with respect to lenses today, because of the production market has changed slightly?
Well, we at Cook we really pride ourselves in listening to the market. So almost everything we've done of late is customer driven, whether it's our anamorphic series, the Pan Pro series, the F7 series. It's really seeing not only where the camera manufacturer is going, but where our customers are going. We originally our first modern lens was the S4 series back in the late 90s. And we started with 6 lenses in the series. There are now 18 lenses in that series because our customers came back to us and said, we need another focal length to complement what we have. So, so as I said, the Pancros and the S7s and the anamorphics are all come from listening to our customers and seeing where they and the market are going.
Right. Christophe, what sort of questions and challenges are your customers coming to you?
So there are different things the people want. So many people ask us for different looks. So there's something we fulfill For example, on the anamorphic look, we have also a line of anamorphic lenses, the master anamorphic, that we do together with Ari. And actually, I think we have been the first reviving or bringing high resolution, high contrast anamorphic. Let's say before this, anamorphic was known as a bit less resolution, having a bit less resolution, being not that perfect lenses. It's actually the anamorphic is in the past was just to save film, and it was just something that was useful, not to provide a look. And we were the first providing really this high quality, high grade anamorphic look, but these are sharp lenses. So we have only this kind of look with the anamorphic. Then some people ask us to redo some old series of lens we did in the 60s, because again now many people try to find some vintage look.
Yeah.
So we have been asked to make some revival of some old lenses. We haven't done it yet. And mainly the people ask us because they ask us to improve ergonomy. This is something we do constantly. And then now it starts getting into modernity. So technologies that are not there at the moment. For example, metadata was here already, but they ask, can you make more than metadata? Like motorized lenses or things like this. So people ask us to do this. We haven't thought about this at the moment, but this is the kind of things we start seeing. And that's quite interesting because this market is normally very, I would say, conservative. People don't like new things. Experiment is very hard to bring onto this market because the guys are working a lot and they want a tool that is secure. But now slowly we see also electronic coming inside into the whole product, not only the lenses but in the whole ecosystem. And yeah, let's see. I think we'll have the next 5 years will be really exciting in terms of development.
You brought up metadata again. Now, this was your initiative, wasn't it, Les,
Yes.
to standardize the collection. Which other companies have joined this initiative?
In addition to Zeiss, Sony, Canon, Fujinon, Blackmagic Design, there's about 30.
Panavision?
Of course, Panavision. Panavision. We've got on the website, Cook Optics website, there's about 30 companies that have now signed on to standardize on eye. So I think we've reached critical mass, and hopefully we'll get a few more companies jumping on board at this show this year.
Yeah. Great. For somebody who's starting in the industry, and you've mentioned the numbers of lenses you have, obviously you've been making lenses for years, both companies. How does a young guy entering, or girl entering the industry, learn about lenses? Is it by practice, or?
I think, in the old days, the way people would enter the industry is they'd start working at a rental house, doing the grunt work, and then slowly work up to a prep floors and help people prepping the equipment. And so they would learn it rather organically. And if they were good at it, they'd keep rising until they became an assistant, and then a focus puller, and then a cameraman. I'm not sure that ethic exists anymore, so a lot of people may now think they come out of film school and they're going to be film. So I would say the best way, though, is just to get the real experience when working.
This has been great, but we're running out of time, guys. I'm really sorry. This has been fascinating. I've learned a lot about lenses. I hope you, the audience, have. I'm Janet West, and my next show tomorrow will be on cameras and on sustainability. We're going over to Ryan.
Hey guys, this is Ryan Salazar. We're broadcasting on NAB Show Live at nabshow.com and broadcastbeat.com from Central Hall. We're at Gremsy. How you guys doing?
Hi, fine, thanks.
Hi, fine, thanks.
All right, so we have Vintron and Hui of Gremsy. What do you manufacture?
Yeah, we are gimbal manufacturer based in Vietnam. Yeah. NAB show is a good opportunity to show our new model. Here this year, 2017, we bring one of the biggest one gimbal here, the Ramsey T45, and this is our CTO, Mr. Huy Pham, will talk to you about something about technical thing about the T45 Ramsey
Okay.
gimbal.
All right. So Hui, what did you develop this for?
Yeah, the T45 is developed for main purpose is car shooting, and it can handle heavy payload up to 45 pounds. Yeah, like very big cinema camera package.
Right. So clearly this is a red camera. I mean, this gimbal is amazing, and this gentleman right behind me here, he's got this remote. So if he moves up and down, you'll actually see the camera. I kind of get in the middle here so you can see that. That is quite cool. I love toys. Oh my gosh, that's cool. So how long have you been manufacturing this?
How long?
Yeah.
5 years already. 5 years already.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
yes.
So what type of audience, what type of folks buy this? Is it cinematographers mostly, or
I'm sorry?
is it mostly movie industry folks that buy this stuff?
Yes, for movie industry, professional movie industry, yes.
Great. And so you guys are strictly more of a gimbal production company, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what other kinds of gimbals do you have?
We have a lot of gimbal from small one, like the T1 over there, and T3, and up to the biggest ones right here.
Okay, so you have handheld gimbals, you have large ones like this. I could see this even going on like on an airplane or a helicopter too, right?
The main purpose is for car shooting, yes. And we have small gimbal for aero. So
Aero and for the buggy also. Yeah, we have the A16, A7, and T1 just released, and T3 in 1 month. Yeah.
Right. I even noticed that you guys have like these little, like almost like race cars that have the gimbals on them too. So that's quite interesting. You've got to have all sorts of uses for that.
a lot of application can be used with that buggy for like chucking shots, high-speed chucking shot, cat chasing,
Great. Now, what's the largest camera you've put on any of these rigs? You do ARRI cameras as well?
I'm sorry?
ARRI cameras go on your
It can handle every camera as well, yes, for sure.
All right, great. So if somebody's interested in working with your technology, where would they go? Do you have a website?
Yeah.
Ramsey.com. Ramsey.com.
So GREMSY.com. All right, great. We really appreciate you guys chatting with us from the Central Hall. Again, we're in Central Hall at the 2017 NAB show. It's such a great show. The energy is here for sure. There are a lot of people on the show floor, so it's clear that this is going to be a successful NAB show. I'm looking around. I see Video Bank. I see Multicopter, Nanook, Stampede, all these great organizations. Black Magic just had some great announcements over in South Hall. We'll be in North Hall in a little bit. And in the 12 o'clock hour, we're going to have Shira Lazar on a broadcast with myself, and we'll be chatting with you guys soon. So from the studio, or from the studio from Central Hall, this is Ryan Salazar for NAB Show Live with Vintron and Hui of Gremsy. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.